And this is another thing, I've talked to feminists who say, well, the Old Testament in particular is a patriarchal document. And I think you're completely out of your mind. It's so anti-patriarchal that it really is a kind of miracle, because the notion that there was a fundamental equality between men and women, and that was grounded in equal access or equal characterization by the divine. There isn't a more radical claim than that on the gender or sex front. And the notion in the New Testament that each person is a locus of divinity and intrinsic worth is a reflection of that initial statement. And that's established. It's like the fifth thing that happens in the biblical corpus. It's a fundamental proclamation.
Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you are feeling good. Today we'll be checking out a video by Jordan Peterson titled Feminist Attacks Jordan Peterson on the Bible, Immediately Regret. Wow. I believe this is going to be another interesting one. Let's check it out. Cool.
Jordan Peterson takes on a feminist ounce again and puts the feminist to shame. In a famous debate he had with a feminist, the feminist claims that the Bible portrays women as subservient. Peterson rightly refutes this, emphasizing the equal worth of men and women in God's kingdom. In Genesis, both are made in God's image, reflecting a divine balance.
And maybe the most, what's the proclamation? Human beings are created in two forms. And that's something that, of course, we're questioning like mad at the moment, to our great chagrin, because it might be the most fundamental perceptual axiom, the distinction between the sexes. And the second one is that men and women alike are created in the image of God. And, that's a ridiculously radical proposition. And it is, I do think, it is the essence of the Christian stance against slavery in particular. And so one of the things that strikes me as problematic, let's say, with projects like the 1619 Project or the leftist insistence in the United States that America per se was founded on, let's say, slavery and oppression. The reason it really bothers me is because I think it's an anti-truth. I don't think it's just a lie, because a lie is sort of like a deviation from the truth, but an anti-truth is something that's exactly the opposite of what's true. And this is how I look at it. So the first question might be, well, is slavery a universal human proclivity or not? And the answer to that, as far as I can tell, and I've done some research into the topic, is yes, it's the default mode of operation for human cultures has been slavery. And that might be a consequence of our proclivity to engage in war, because my suspicions are that the institution of slavery arose as a consequence of capturing enemy combatants, deciding not to kill them, which would be the simple thing to do, and then utilizing them, and also feeling justified in doing that because, well, after all, they were trying to kill you, or there was a reason you were at war. And so we could say, well, slavery is the default condition for social organization. So then what emerges out of that is a kind of miracle. And the miracle to me is that any society ever decided that that was a bad idea. And as far as I can tell, the society that decided that most particularly and explicitly was Great Britain. And that was particularly Wilberforce. And he was an evangelical Christian. And the reason that he opposed slavery, 100% the reason that he opposed slavery, was because he was steeped in the biblical tradition. And then the Brits fought slavery on the high seas for 175 years and basically eradicated it as at least a morally acceptable enterprise. And the American tradition comes out of that tradition. And even if the US, like other cultures, is contaminated by the desire for power, it's the anti-slavery ethos that's actually central to the entire project. And so when the radical types are making the claim that Western culture is essentially slaveholding in its essence, as far as I can tell, they are opposing the only strain of culture, which also wasn't Western, by the way, because it's not like the Bible is a Western book exactly. It's not European, it's an import. And so they're opposing the only strain of thought that's ever existed that made both a powerful implicit and explicit anti-slavery case. And so that seems to be entirely counterproductive if they actually care about slavery. And then one more twist on that, historically speaking. Well, I don't think that it's debatable. The Enlightenment types, like Steven Pinker, would debate this, I think, but I think he's wrong. I think all the societies in the world that are free and productive and generous, and those would be the societies that people would flee to if they had their choice. All of those are offshoots of the biblical tradition, every single one of them. And I can't see that as chance. And I also think the same thing about literacy, is that without the biblical tradition, it was the biblical tradition and the invention of the printing press that brought literacy to the world. And it needed both of those. The Chinese had the printing press, but they didn't have that evangelical fervor to elect to bring everyone up to the pinnacle of self-governance and self-realization. And the bloody Brits, they wanted to do that even to their colonies, and Wilberforce talked a lot about that too, is that it was the obligation of the Brits as the colonial administrators say, to inculcate in the people who they had colonized the spirit of independence and freedom that would enable them to be self-governing citizens. And I also think that the British Empire managed that to a great degree. There's plenty of terrible mess and catastrophe along the way, but the US and Canada are both, and Australia and New Zealand, these are great countries. And you can say the same about many of the other Commonwealth countries, including India. They're beneficiaries of that tradition. And it's English, but it's also more deeply biblical. So I think you can make an extremely strong historical case for this.
Jordan Peterson touches on two things: the biblical worth of women and slavery, two critical topics that are often used against the Bible by people who have never even read the book. Contrary to the popular belief of women being portrayed as subservient, the scripture presents a far more nuanced and balanced view. Jordan Peterson's refutation of this misconception is just the tip of the iceberg. In the book of Genesis, both man and woman are created in God's image. This fundamental truth sets a tone of equality and mutual respect. The term helper used for Eve in Genesis 2 verse 18 is often misinterpreted. In Hebrew, Ezer connotes strength and support, and is used elsewhere in the Bible to describe God himself, suggesting a role of significant strength and partnership. The Bible is replete with examples of strong, influential women who played pivotal roles. Deborah, a prophetess and a judge, led Israel to victory. Esther's courage saved her people from annihilation. Proverbs 31 describes a woman of noble character as someone who is industrious, wise, and capable, far from being merely subservient. In the New Testament, Jesus' interactions with women were revolutionary for his time. Jordan Peterson also dismantles the idea that the Bible supports slavery by pointing to figures like Wilberforce, who actively fought slavery in the name of Christianity. Once again, Jordan Peterson educates an arrogant feminist who knows nothing about the Bible.
Wow, what an interesting answer. We can tell that in this video, Jordan Peterson educates, school, and dismantle an arrogant feminist who knows less to nothing about the Bible. A lot of people tend to criticize the Bible without even reading the Bible to know the content of what is really in the Bible. And most times they try to pick words out of context in order to justify their own ideology, which is totally wrong. And this is what Jordan Peterson is explaining in this video. I always like listening to Jordan Peterson because he's someone that is very articulated, very intelligent, always stand by the truth, is not afraid to say the truth. And I love the way he expresses himself when trying to explain something. He gives a clear explanation, and I always learn one or two whenever I listen to Jordan Peterson, because a lot of those people, they tend to try to criticize the Bible, try to criticize our religion without, caring to read the Bible to get better understanding on what is actually in the Bible. And most times, just like I've said, they tend to pick words out of context in order to support their own ideology, which is not true. And you saying the Bible supports slavery, I believe that is totally false. That is totally not true. And this is what Jordan Peterson have explained in this video. You viewing the Bible discriminate against women. The Bible don't see men and women as equal. I believe that is totally false. All human were made in the image of God. So you saying the Bible don't see women and men as equals, I feel that is totally wrong. A lot of strong women, a lot of vibrant women in the Bible, they achieve a lot and they save their people. And there are really a lot of people in the Bible, not basically men, even women, that contributed a lot. So I believe before you criticize the Bible or before you try to bring the Bible down, it's better you get a better understanding. Do your research, read the Bible, get a better understanding of what is in the Bible before you try to criticize Christianity or criticize the Bible. And instead of you picking words out of context to support your own ideology, I think it's better when you do more research, you gain better understanding, and you can make informed decision. And this is what Jordan Peterson have said in this video. So I've really learned a lot listening to Jordan. And I would like to hear your comments regarding the points and facts that Jordan Peterson have stated in this video. Let's get the conversation rolling. Don't forget, click on the subscribe button, click on the like button. Do have a nice day.
Yeah.